Last Minute Laura. I'm Laura and today I am going to show you a Christmas crochet design. So for this design, we are going to be making a pair of Christmassy elfy slippers. This design is worked flat and the entire thing is worked in half double crochet. It's a really easy pattern and I'm going to show you how to make it today. I'm calling them the super simple elf slippers because honestly, once you've made one, it's so fast to make the second one. I think you could probably get a pair done in about an hour, which makes them great for Christmas markets, great for Christmas gifts, and anything in between. You don't have to make it in red and green like me. I just think that it kind of made it a little bit cuter, like a little Christmassier. And that curved elfy shoes shape is just made by drawing in the pointed toe with a few simple stitches, and that curves it in so that you have this super cute elfy shape. So for this pattern, you're going to need a few things. You're going to need some yarn in 3 colors, white or cream and red and green, the Christmas colors. I'm using Patton's wool today. It's the classic wool, it's a worsted weight wool. I have 100 grams in each color, 3.5 ounces, 194 yards. The colors that I am using for mine are Aran, A-R-A-N, Jade Heather, as well as bright red. So those are the colors I'm using if you want to do exactly the same thing as me. I'm also going to be using a 5mm crochet hook to complete this project. And the extras that you'll need for this are just a pair of scissors to clip your yarn and a yarn needle to weave in your ends at the end. So, without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so to get started, we are going to use 2 strands of the wool. I'm going to start with the cream color and the green together. We're going to chain 38, so start with a slip stitch and then chain 38. 1, 2, 3, 37, and 38. Next, we are going to half double crochet in the 3rd chain from the hook. So 1, 2, and 3. Just a regular, half double crochet there. And then we're gonna half double crochet across. And at the end of that row, you should end up with 36 stitches. Then chain 1 and turn. Now we're going to half double crochet across again, but this time, instead of half double crocheting in the regular way, which would be through that top part of the stitch right there, we're going to half double crochet into the big gap between the stitches. This is going to create a thicker stitch, which is great for slippers and things of that nature. You can definitely do a regular half double crochet if you want to. It's going to work out fine. It's just this way it comes out as a thicker, denser fabric, which for me, for slippers in the house, makes a little bit more sense. So one more time, what I mean is instead of half double crocheting into the top of the stitch here, like normal, we're going to half double crochet into that big gap between the 2 stitches. It fills up that gap and just creates a denser final product. So just half double crochet across like this for this row. And at the end of this row, switch your color just on the green, switch to red. Leave the white, we're gonna leave the white all the way throughout, but switch your green yarn for red yarn at the end of this row. And then we're gonna chain 1 and turn. Now for the next 2 rows, we're going to half double crochet, same way that we have been, which is into that big gap stitch between the 2 half double crochets. And we're going to half double crochet across, chain 1 and turn for 2 rows with the red. Okay, and just for a size reference, 38 stitches to start will fit anywhere between a size 7 and I would say maybe a size 9 for ladies' shoes. If you want to make it bigger, just like add a few stitches. Add 2, 4, 6, 8 stitches. Basically, you want that length to be as long as your foot plus about 2 or 3 inches. And that's going to be for that toe to curl with. So if you need it smaller, do 36, 34, 32, 30 stitches, whatever you need for it to be as long as your foot plus about 3 inches. For me, I'm about a size 8 and 38 stitches is absolutely perfect. Okay, and now after those 2 rows with the red, I'm gonna switch back to the green. The white is still attached. That is just going to stay for this entire pattern attached. Okay, so after changing the yarn, half double crochet across for the next 2 rows with the green attached, and then switch to red 1 more time and half double crochet across 2 more times, so rows 7 and 8 with the red. And then come back here and I will show you our next step into forming these cute little elfie booties. So again, you're gonna have a total of 8 rows done in half double crochet with 2 strands of yarn. 8 rows. I'm doing 2 rows in each color and switching off, but you want 8 rows total before we're going to do another step. Okay, so I'm coming up to the end of row number 8 now. I'm going to switch my yarn color again on this last stitch. I'm going to switch back to green. All right, so for row number 9, we're going to half double crochet, but this time only into the first 23 stitches. At the end of 23 stitches, chain 1 and turn. So 1, 2, 3, and 23. And then I'm going to chain 1 and turn. And now we're going to do from row number 10 until row number 18, we're going to do just in this 23 stitches half double crochets. Every 2 rows we're going to switch colors just like we've been doing, but it's still half double crochet. It's just for 23 stitches instead of the entire 36. So I'm just going to zoom through this part, and when you get to row number 18, come on back here and I will show you how we are going to finish the next section of the little elfie shoe. So just in case you need a little bit of an extra hand here, row 9 and 10 are going to be with the green, row 11 and 12 with the red, 13, 14 with the green, 15, 16 with the red. Okay, so I made a little bit of a mistake. I wasn't reading my pattern and I thought there was up to 18. We're only gonna go up to 16 on these short rows. So we're gonna do 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. And then we're changing back to the green if you're doing the same color work as me. And then what we're going to do is we're gonna half double crochet all the way to the end of that row. And then we're going to add 17 chain stitches. So I'm just gonna make it to the end. And then once you make it to the end of the row, chain 17. Hey, I'm popping in the middle of the video here just to remind you to like the video down here. It's just a simple click for you. It takes just a second, but it's super helpful to help the channel grow, and I do really appreciate each and every one of you who hit that like button. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. I put out new videos about once a week, and often they're crochet tutorials, sometimes they're natural dye, and anything crafty in between. So hit the subscribe button and the little bell notification icon to be notified about my new videos. Okay, back to the video. Okay, next we're gonna half double crochet in the third stitch, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to half double crochet across. At the end of this row, we're gonna switch colors back to the red and chain 1 and turn. Okay, so now we're back to the red. We're going to do row number 19 and 20 in the red, and then 20 and 21 in the green, and then 22 and 23 in the red. And that's gonna be where we finish the shape. So basically we're matching the same number of rows that we had in this section into this section. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8. We want to have 8 on this side. So let's do it. Okie dokie. So I'm just gonna finish that last stitch and then we're gonna turn the work. But first, just take a minute here to weave in any of your ends because it's gonna be a little bit more difficult to weave them in after the next step. So just take a second here and weave in your ends. Okay, there we go, much better. Now fold up. Oh my goodness, I'm really playing yarn chicken with that white yarn. I hope I have enough to finish. Okay, so fold your shape, whatever this is, a couple of rectangles mixed together. We're gonna fold it up so that the two long pieces are touching one another. And then we're going to slip stitch across. So first I'm just going to take my hook out and I'm gonna stick it in the first stitch on the other side and I'm gonna pull that loop, oops, I'm gonna pull that loop through just to get us started. And then we're going to slip stitch across. So insert your hook on the same stitch on the other side, pull through your loop and pull the loop through the loop. Pull through both loops basically. And we're just gonna do that all the way across, and this is going to really make sense of the shoe part. If you're not really seeing it look like a shoe just yet, this will clear it up. If you don't want to slip stitch this, you could definitely just fold it over and sew it by hand with some simple blanket stitches or whip stitches or something like that. It's just, we've already got the yarn attached, so I figure slip stitch is my easiest way. Okay, so we're just about at the end, slip stitching together that long end. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna go around that corner and we're gonna keep slip stitching. So I'm in that last stitch now, last stitch. I'm actually just gonna include that tail so I don't have to weave it in later. And now I'm going to put another stitch into that same one, but I'm going to do a single crochet just to help turn it. And now we're going to slip stitch these rows together. So just slip stitch up, and they're going to be slightly off just because one of ours had a chain and then a row of half double crochet. Just make them match, that's all. It's not going to show up as a problem in the final booty, so just sort of pull them together and line them up as best you can so that they end up about the same, slip stitch together there. And, oops, there we go. So that is the shoe portion. Now you can see it has some kind of a shoe shape. What we're gonna do next is we're gonna switch the yarn back to green. Oh my goodness, I really hope we have enough of that white yarn to do this. I'm gonna switch my yarn back to the green, and we're going to do 2 rows of half double crochet around this opening right here. If we can manage, if there's enough yarn left. I'm so hopeful here. Do you ever do that? Do you ever play yarn chicken where you start a project hoping that you have enough yarn to finish it, and when you come really close to the end, it starts getting a little bit stressful? That's me right now. Well, I'm gonna see if I can do it. So I'm gonna half double crochet all the way around that opening, and that'll just pull up the sides of your booty so it's more up on your ankle, keeping your ankle warm too. You can do more than 2 rows if you like. You could do 3 or 4 rows. You could even do 5, 6, 7 rows if you'd like, and then fold the cuff over. I'm just doing 2 because I'm treating these kind of like little slipper shoes, something I can just slip on in the morning to keep my feet warm. Also, because I'm pretty sure I don't have enough yarn to do any more than 2 rows in this white. Gosh, I'm really hopeful. You should comment down below if you think I'm gonna be able to finish the 2 rows, and then at the end, see if you were right. And you know when you get it right, when you win Yarn Chicken, how awesome it feels, and how disappointing when you don't get it. So I'm pumped to see if it's gonna work. Yay, we made it! Yes! Oh, I feel so good about this. Okay, so last thing we're gonna do is slip stitch that round, that second round. Oh, geez, I made that chain stitch a little tight. There we go, slip stitch that round together, and then I'm gonna chain 1, pull that chain tight, and guess what? That is almost everything. It's not everything though. The next step is that we're going to turn this inside out. There we go. Okay, so now it looks like a little boot, like a little shoe. Okay, so now we're gonna make the toe pointed. First, just grab a little scrap of yarn and mark the center for where your seam is, but on the other side. So I'm just gonna put that little yarn marker there, just so we know that's where we want the pointed toe to be. And then what we're gonna do is pull that tube until the folded part, we're making a fold like a triangle, hits that stitch, hits that middle area. And then press it all down nice and flat. And you can see the shoe is now curving over to one side. That's okay, that's what we want. And then next, we're going to pull that whole triangle, that whole piece over and line it up to this edge. And I know that seems like, there's gonna be a big amount of bulk in that toe, but we need that bulk to hold the curve of the Elfie shoe. So bear with me, I know it seems a little crazy, it seems a little weird, but it's all gonna work out perfectly in the end. We're going to be using a yarn needle to put this next part together. I'm using red yarn just because that's what I used on the other shoe. And I'm doing a double strand for this. So first, I'm just gonna take my tube and I'm going to sew it with a blanket stitch just along that seam. This doesn't have to be anything fancy because it's not going to show in the end. I'm even starting mine with a knot because I don't like any insecure threads. Gonna get rid of that marker in a minute. If you want a tutorial on how I do my blanket stitches for projects like this, I will link that down below. I'm gonna link a bunch of things. I'll link the how to do a half double crochet, how to slip stitch, that sort of stuff, just in case this is your first time trying to crochet and it seems a little complicated. I will link all of those, beginner basic stuff down in the description, including how I blanket stitch for crochet items like this. But I'm gonna just blanket stitch all the way down until I meet that seam. All right, and now, again, we're going to bring that folded side down and just kind of adjust until we have a nice point and this lines up pretty close to the edge of that. We don't need it to be right at the edge, but pretty close to the edge. And then what I'm gonna do is just stitch that down. I'm gonna use those blanket stitches that I made on that edge just to tack it down. Now I'm just doing whip stitches around, grabbing just a little bit of the crochet and then grabbing that blanket stitch and just stitching that triangle down. Again, it's not really gonna matter that it's extra bulky here because this is going to be the part that makes up the curly toe for the elf shoe. Alrighty, so we made it to the top. This area here is all going to just sort of negotiate itself out when you're wearing it. See, from the top, you can't see it. And then from the bottom, it's just kind of a little bulkier. And that'll sort of, I don't know how to explain it, but as you wear them, the piece underneath kind of wiggles out so that that seam becomes even less noticeable. See, this one I've worn around and you could barely see that shift anymore versus this harsh curve. It kind of mellows out a little bit. And now it's time to make the elf shoe turn up. If you want to, you could just leave it like that and have a pointy shoe. Kind of cute anyway, but I like the idea of it being curved. So put your foot into the slipper at this point, and where your foot ends, that's where you're gonna want to mark with a little piece of yarn. I know around here is where my foot ends. So what I'm gonna do next is take that yarn that's still attached and weave in and out of the whole project. You can either do the top or through both layers. I'm actually just gonna do it through the top piece of fabric because, okay, and then we're going to weave the yarn, oops, up and down through the fabric, get through each stitch, just so it's nice and tight. And where you get, when you get to where your marker is, pull your yarn up and then tighten it. And that's gonna help create that curve. And the next step is just to go back down one row over, the same way up and down, just weaving through until you make it back up to that tip. Ugh. And there we go. And then pull those yarn bits until you get a curve that you like. So I'm gonna try and match my other one. So about there should do it. And the next step, we're going to make the pom-pom. That's actually it for the shoe. So you can see the shoe has that curve now, that little elfy curve. And again, as you wear it, it sort of like negotiates itself out into a little bit more of a cute little mountainy C curve. But the next step, I want a pom-pom. So I'm using a different wool for this, just because it's a little bit thicker and I like that idea. And I'm just using my hand for the pom-pom. I'm not wrapping any number of times, just until I think that it's gonna be about the same size as the other pom-pom I made. I'm not super methodical with my pom-pom making, but if you've got a pom-pom maker, make your pom-pom that way. All right, and when you finish your pom-pom, or when you finish wrapping around, tie off your pom-pom. Just make one however you like to make it. This is how I do it. I just wrap around my hands a few times, and then I tie around the middle, nice and tight. And then I just stick my scissors in and cut open those little bits. All right, there we go. And now with that same yarn that's used to make that curve, I'm gonna just stab it through the pom-pom, right through the middle like that. And then I'm gonna stitch it down. That's why I do a little bit of a longer tail on my yarn. It allows me to get all of this done without re-threading my yarn needle and redoing it a bunch of times. There we go. And there we go. And then clip your yarn, weave in any ends that you've got, and that is actually it. Completely done. Look at how cute they are. Okay, let's get some after shots of these things. Okay friends, so that is all for today. I really hope you enjoyed this video on how to make the super simple elf slippers. They are so easy, so cute, and again, I really think they would make a great Christmas gift or great for Christmas markets. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and if you are gonna make them, send me a picture. Go on to talk.lastminutelaura.ca. You can upload photos of projects that you've made so that I can see them, comment on them, and share them. That's the best place to get in contact and to share any of the patterns that you actually try out. So, anyways friends, that is all from me for today. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing to the channel. I hope you'll come back for the next video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye!